What up, what up, what up? I got 5 overvalued fantasy players for the 2024 fantasy football season. Best ball drafts are underway right now, so some of these ADPs I'm a little worried about because it's May now. So that only means in redraft leagues, some of these ADPs may be on the rise, and they still carry some red flags that they have today in May and may exist still in the summertime that makes their ADP a little bit worrisome. So I want to start with a rookie. I want to start with Malik Neighbors on the Giants, man. I know the talent is there. I know Malik Neighbors is one of the big three. He's one of those guys that can elevate an offense, but I still have my question marks for him when it translates to fantasy football. The quarterback play is the biggest question mark here with Dan Jones. Is he going to be ready for week one? Is he going to be able to elevate this offense now that he has a weapon like Malik Neighbors? And I think everybody's looking at Malik Neighbors as a guy that's going to see a ton of targets, which is very true, but how efficient are these targets going to be with the quarterback play still poor? Because we saw great examples last season, years before as well. But just looking at last season, there's guys that had over a 20% target share, had over 100 targets, had over 1,000 yards. Guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Drake London, George Pickens, Terry McLaurin, all capped at 13 fantasy points per game. So I think taking a wide receiver that's going to see a ton of volume, but how efficient are these targets going to be when there's not going to be many scoring opportunity? You look at Terry McLaurin as a great example. Only 4 touchdowns last year. The quarterback play was poor. It was piss poor, to be honest, because Terry McLaurin's a talent that has that elite route running, that is a deep threat. He's an all-around that has all 3 levels of the spectrum to be a complete wide receiver, but the quarterback play capped him less than 13 fantasy points per game. So I look at Malik Neighbors as a huge red flag. I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to take him in that 3rd round. Now we're heading down to South Beach, Miami with Devonta Anan. It's a little overvalued for me right now. Going in that early 2nd round, I really feel as though he carries some red flags as well, being that the smaller size running back and with the injury bug on his jacket, came into the season banged up, got injured during the season, missed 6 games and left 1 game early. Availability is your best ability, and I think with these question marks on Devonta Anan, I don't like taking him in the 2nd round, because I think if you take him in the 2nd round with this existing history already of the track record that he already has of having the injury bug on his jacket. Not saying he's injury prone, but it does exist, being that he's a smaller back. I think you're making a decision in that 2nd round like, hey, I'm going to have to tag on some of these running backs behind him after taking him, because there is a risk factor here. We already know that Raheem Mostert is signed and extended. He is back there. He is likely going to be the lead back in that backfield. I understand the talent is in question for Devonta Anan, but they went out and drafted Jalen Wright as well. So I'd rather wait on a running back in that backfield when I can get a Raheem Mostert in the 8th round, or I can get Jalen Wright in the 12th round, because we know injuries are going to be in the mix here between Mostert and the Anan, at least, where some of these guys might miss time. So I really feel as though I will bang on the value for Mostert in the 8th round, or I can even get a Joe Mixon in the 5th round, or a James Cook in the 5th round, or I can wait even later in the 8th round, like I said with Mostert, or even get a guy like James Conner, who had a great season last year where his production shot up once Kyler Murray went back on the field. So you have plenty other options here to kind of fade the Devonta Anan in the 2nd round. If it was a little bit cheaper, if he was in that 4th round, I would tell you, yes, go ahead and grab that, because you already should have a RB1. But some people are taking a wide receiver in the 1st round and then taking Anan in that 2nd round as their RB1. I think that's where the mistake is right there, being that his ADP is a little too high for me. And it could only be on the rise once we get some coach speak out there, once we get some clip highlights of him during the summer. I really feel as though this is a huge trap here taking Devonta Anan in that 2nd round. Now, another guy right now that I think is going a little too high in drafts, he's going on the back end of that 2nd round, is Nico Collins, man. The addition of Stephon Diggs does rub me the wrong way. Hopefully they don't give Stephon Diggs like a 20+% target share where he's the alpha leader, because that's not what worked for the Texans. Hopefully he just gels in, but even if he gels in to where this offense tends to spread the ball around to Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, and Nico Collins, Nico does take a hit in that ADP, being that it's the back end of the 2nd round. That's still a little too expensive for me. He went from basically wide receiver 9 to wide receiver 15. That is a little step back, but he's still going a little too high for my taste in the 2nd round. I really feel as though I like other wide receivers that are going in that range, or guys that he's going before, like a Micah Evans or a Michael Pittman. Those 2 guys I'd rather take over a Nico Collins in that back end of the 2nd second round. So I think there's better options here, and I think there's more of a wait and see approach of how this offense is going to work with Stephon Diggs. Hopefully towards the summer his ADP goes down a little bit, but right now it's too expensive for my taste. Now, looking at DJ Moore's ADP on the back end in that third round, it does feel a little nasty to me, being that he does have target competition actually that's existing on this offense. We never seen DJ Moore in his entire career have this much competition for the targets as a threat, where you have a Roma Dunze, when you have a Keenan Allen. These two players, Keenan Allen and Odunze, are very good players. Now, we're looking at DJ Moore history with other competing players. Robbie Chosen, Curtis Samuel, Terrace Marshall Jr., who never really panned out, Jonathan Mingo. These are not the caliber of the big three in Odunze or a veteran guy that is killing the slot position at the age that he is. Like, he didn't finish wide receiver 3 last year, Keenan Allen. So DJ Moore, man, he does take a hit to me because I really feel as though he will be utilized as the X. I think his role does not disappear. I just think that the target competition does exist. And I don't think this ADP on the back end of the third round reflects that, because there's guys like Waddle, there's guys like Pittman that I'd rather take that have a larger chance of, one, being a guy that can have a higher week so at the peak, and be guys that have a higher chance to actually have a solid points per game basis when it comes to the end of the year. I really feel as though that DJ Moore is going to be the second option in his offense, maybe a close third. Odunze and him are really the two that I really see targeting, these two battling for targets, and Keenan Allen kind of still being the alpha of an offense because he's still a great route runner. He's still a guy that could take over a team in an offense and turn it on the heads up and get this offense rolling. I really think Caleb Williams will take his choice and be happy he has 3 wide receivers that have the capability to turn up at any time. But I really feel as though DJ Moore going before Waddle, Pittman, other guys like Mike Evans, I really just don't agree taking him there. Oh man, my guy Puka Nacua is still going in the first 7 picks, and I think this is a huge red flag. It is a mistake because a lot of expectations are put on him for him to have that heavy target share that he started the season with. A lot of people are banking on Cooper Kupp getting injured, but we can't really bank and predict on injuries. We need to look at the data of what tells us when they were on the field existing together, when Matthew Stafford was healthy and Kyron Williams was back on the field. This is what a full offense of health looks like going into this season as of now, where we need to look at the target competition. Now, Puka did come on top once Cooper Kupp came back from injury. When we look at those games, in the 11 games that they played together with Matthew Stafford, Puka averaged 16.6 fantasy points per game, and Cooper Kupp averaged 14.3 fantasy points per game. This does not scream to me in the first 7 picks that Puka Nacua should be going in the first round. I'm more so okay with taking Puka in the second round, early second round. I'm not saying that he drops completely out of the first 2 rounds, but man, I just don't feel comfortable taking him in the first 7 picks. I think the target share will play a factor week to week as well, where Cooper Kupp will have his days, where Puka will have his days. They had 8 games together where they had both a 20% target share, 6 games where they had double-digit fantasy points. Now, I really look at this, man. You need to be cautious going out, getting a Puka Nacua. I just don't feel as though you should be targeting him in the first 7 picks. You should be a little weary that, all right, Cooper Kupp is back. Demarcus Robinson's back in a little season, how he finished up the back end of that season playing that X role where he replaced Tutu Atwell. He does play a factor in the red zone as well, where he'll see some heavy targets as well. So I think Puka Nacua in those first 7 picks is a huge red flag, man. I think we need to back off a little bit and look at other options there at that 107 spot where he's going in best ball drafts right now. So this wraps up another great episode of RotoBaller Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe, and head over to the website, rotoballer.com, and sign up as a subscription using promo code FIRE to get 10% off. Now, you guys can follow me at Real Deal Fantasy on all social media platforms. Until next time.